Hello guys, welcome to a new video of the Fischer series. Today we're looking at round number 3 of the Mar del Plata held in Argentina in 1959. This was Fischer's first time in South America. He just turned 16 and he's having a really tough tournament here with a lot of great players from Europe and America, from which Pachman, Miguel Najdorf, the inventor of the Sicilian Najdorf, and Pachman is actually a very interesting player. He got tortured and imprisoned in 1972 in Czechoslovakia, now Czech Republic, and he fled to West Germany to continue his chess career. He's a really good player, and he faces Fischer in round number 3. Fischer has the white pieces, so let's see how the game goes. Fischer starts with e4, and after e4, Pachman decides to play e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5, going for the Spanish. Pachman plays a6, the Morphy defense, bishop a4, and d6, the closed Spanish. Here you can play multiple moves, you can castle, you can play c3, knight to c3. Fischer decides to play c3 to prepare the d4 push and to give a square for the bishop to come back to. After c3, Pachman plays bishop to d7, so we have no pin anymore and the knight can move. Now Fischer plays d4, knight g to e7, and you can see it's heavily defended now, this knight, so this bishop doesn't really have a purpose here anymore, so Fischer plays bishop to b3, because here it has a lot more scope and better attacking chances later on. So after bishop to b3, Pachman plays h6 to prevent the bishop from coming to g5, and Fischer castles. We have knight to g6 from Pachman and knight b to d2 from Fischer. So it's very thematic to rotate your knight like this, either to c4 and then to e3, or usually bring to f1 and then to e3 or g3. So that's a very thematic way of playing with the white pieces with the Spanish. Pachman plays bishop to e7, knight to c4, going for his idea. And here Pachman plays bishop to g5. Well, as you can see, it's attacked twice and it's also defended twice, but you would not take with your queen first. So after knight takes, you would have doubled pawns here. Why do we allow this? Well, maybe this is Pachman's idea by bringing the queen to e7, castling long, and you can see after doubling the rook on the h-file, this would be a really annoying pressure. So Fischer doesn't take the bishop here and doubles black's pawns. He plays knight to e3, simply going for his idea. And here Pachman actually gives away his bishop pair. He takes the knight. And after bishop takes e3, he simply castles. So okay, that's fine, you just helped me develop my bishop. Fischer plays h3 to prevent the bishop coming to g4. And Pachman simply plays rook to e8. So with rook to e8, we're saying, okay, we're not going to push this pawn now, simply developing the rook. Here Fischer plays knight to h2. Maybe he wants to push f4 himself or bring the knight to g4. And here Pachman simply develops his queen. So till now, it was just a developing game. Here Fischer plays d takes e5, d takes e5, and now he plays an interesting move. He plays queen to h5. And, well, what is the queen really doing there? It's not attacking this pawn, it's defended 4 times. The knight is defended very well, so yeah, I'm not so sure what the purpose of queen to h5 is. What you can also do in this position is play bishop to c5. And how is that a good move? Are we not just giving away the bishop? Well, after queen takes, we can take your bishop. And you can see now we have some really nice pressure on this pawn. But okay, Fischer plays queen to h5. And after queen to h5, Pachman really plays some great top engine moves. He starts with knight to a5. Well, how is this a great move? Well, with knight to a5, we're attacking the bishop. The bishop has a really good scope here. Well, if we move to bishop to any of those squares, it will be taken. So Fischer plays bishop to c2. He really doesn't want to get rid of this bishop, but now you can see it's looking at a brick wall here. So Pachman now plays knight to c4, attacking the other bishop, and this bishop doesn't really have good squares either to stay, so Fischer has to bring the bishop back to defend this b2 pawn. So Fischer plays bishop to c1, and you can see how passive those bishops are compared to 2 moves ago, like this. So this knight maneuver was really great by Pachman. Now he plays knight to f4, attacking the queen. So every move has been an attack on the pieces. Queen to f3. And you can see the difference after rook a to d8. Look at this position and how it was a couple moves ago. I mean, it's way more active, way better for Pachman. And now Fischer, well, what can you do here? You can maybe try to kick this knight away with b3, but then we have knight to a3, and we're going to get this bishop anyway. So that's not really an option. And here Fischer is like, okay, I'm really passive. I have to do something. Let me just take this knight. Bishop takes f4. Now we have e takes f4, queen takes f4, and we're actually a pawn up. But you can see that this b2 pawn is actually very weak here, and it will be taken. So Pachman can actually just take the pawn here, but he first decides to play bishop to c6. With bishop to c6, we're attacking this pawn 3 times. We're also activating our rook over the d file. So it's a useful move, and well, maybe you can play b3 now to save your pawn advantage. But then we will play knight to a3, attacking this bishop. You have to bring it back to b1. But now we can play queen to c5, and we have pressure over this pawn. You have to play rook to c1, and I mean, just look at how passive and ugly those pieces look. So that's not really an option either. So after bishop to c6, Fischer doesn't go for this b3 idea. He just activates his knight to g4. And after activating the knight to g4, Pachman can play h5. And Pachman is really playing an amazing game here. All great moves. Fischer has to move his knight again. Knight to e3. It's attacking the knight now. So now Pachman finally decides to take the pawn. After taking the pawn, we can see that this pawn has become very weak because the b2 pawn was defending it. And now nothing is defending it. Fischer first plays knight to f5, attacking your queen. Pachman brings the queen to f6, attacking your pawn. And Fischer's like, okay, I cannot really save that pawn. Let me just take your pawn. And after Pachman takes my pawn, it's still equal in material. So after queen takes c3, now Fischer plays rook to c1. So his idea is to bring the bishop to b3, and it comes with tempo, attacking your queen. So Pachman brings back the queen immediately, so this move wouldn't come with tempo. Now we have rook f to e1, defending the pawn. You can see those 2 pieces really have to defend this pawn, because it's attacked twice. And now after rook f to e1, Pachman plays an amazing move here to keep the advantage, and that is knight to d3. You can see we're forking your rooks, so you have to take the knight with your bishop, otherwise you're just down in exchange. So Fischer takes the knight, and after rook takes, Fischer brings back his queen to f4 because it's doing nothing here. This is all defended very well. But after bringing the queen back to f4, Pachman plays g6. And how are you going to save this knight? Well, Fischer is in a way worse position here. He only has one move to really keep the game sort of going with -1. All other moves would be worse. I would say try to pause the video here and find the best move for white here. So the best move here for Fischer is queen to h6. And, well, why is that the best move? Well, after takes, we would simply take your queen, so you cannot take. But Pachman can simply play rook to e6 here, and it's defended now. So how does that work? Well, now we can bring back the knight. But still, we have h4 attacking the knight again. It cannot come back here. And you can see we have a double pressure on this pawn. So after moving the knight again, we can take the pawn. And after rook takes, bishop takes, I mean, just look at how active black's pieces are. We're a pawn up. This pawn is very weak. We have a lot of pressure on your king side. And your pieces are not really doing anything. It's also an open position, so bishops are better than knights. So this would have been the best continuation for Fischer. But he didn't play that. Fischer thought, okay, you're probably going to win this piece. How can I continue the game? Well, after rook to c5, if you take, I can maybe take back. You have to move your queen, and I can take this pawn. And after taking those two pawns, I would have a 1 to 4 pawn structure, and I can maybe try to push and make another queen. So that was Fischer's idea, with rook to c5. Now Pachman plays rook to e6. He doesn't rush with taking. Well, you can actually also just take. It's fine, because after rook takes, we can bring the queen to c3, attack your rook. You cannot take this pawn, we will take your rook. And if you give a check, we can just sidestep this king. Now your rook is under attack, you have to play rook to e2. And well, you have nothing here, okay? You can take the pawn, you have an advantage in the pawn structure, but we're a piece up and Pachman should win this game. So, first Pachman plays rook to e6. Now, queen to b8 check, a bit desperate, but okay, you have to do something. Bringing back this rook would be worse, because then we can just take this bishop, and after rook takes queen, we take your queen, and we're just a piece up. So Pachman has to bring back his d rook, rook d8, and after rook to d8, we have to move the queen again. So Fischer plays queen to f4. So it was a bit of a desperate move, I would say, because we just helped you bring your rook back to the back rank. And now Pachman plays g takes f5. And after rook takes f5, this move doesn't work anymore, because after bringing the queen to c3, you would play check, and you're losing your rook. So you cannot go for that idea anymore. You have to either defend the king from check, or bring the queen to d4, in which after check, it's defended by the queen. So Pachman plays queen to g7, and rook takes h5. So Fischer is a piece down here, but it's a piece for two pawns, and we have a 4-on-1 here. So maybe he tries to make another queen out of this. And let's see how the game continues. Pachman first plays rook d to e8, f3, having this really nice pawn chain, and rook to e5. So whenever you're a piece up, you should really exchange the pieces, so that after taking away all those pieces, we would be the only one with a piece left with the bishop, and that should be winning. So after rook to e5, Fischer obviously doesn't want to exchange the pieces. He plays rook to h4. But after rook to g5, attacking this pawn, you really don't want to lose another pawn. You're already in a worse position. So now you're really forced to exchange. Rook takes, h takes, queen d4 check, rook to e3, and queen to e5. So you really have to do something about it. Fischer can take the queen, and then rook will take back. So Fischer's like, okay, I have to maybe go for a queen exchange, but let's do it on my terms, because after queen takes, I can advance my pawn further. So after g takes f5, we now have rook to d8, and it's not really clear how to win this position. Okay, you're a piece up, but I mean, this can look very scary if the pawns are rolling up the board. So if I was black here, I wouldn't really know what to do to convert this game. But let's see how Pachman does it. I'll go a bit quicker through those moves. King to f2, bishop to b5, king to e1, king to g7, e5, rook to d4, g4. So you can see the pawns are starting to march up the board, which looks scary. King to h6, a bit of an unusual move, because now we can play e6, and Pachman actually doesn't take the pawn here. He just advances his pawn to keep control over those squares. You cannot advance this pawn now. We'll simply take it. And after advancing your pawn, you can always bring the bishop back to defend the promoting square, and you cannot really promote that pawn. So after f6, king to f2, rook to d2 check, king to g3, he brings his king back. You can also just take the pawn, but Pachman probably wants to bring his king back to the e7 square. Now we have rook to c3. He wants to get in here. So Pachman simply plays a bishop to c6. The rook cannot enter now. a3, preventing rook from taking. Rook to e2. King to f4. a5. Rook to d3. a4. Rook to d8. And this is really annoying. It's attacked twice. So rook to d8 doesn't work. You have to bring the rook back to d3. And after b5, rook to c3, attacking your bishop, Pachman here plays an amazing move in which he wins the game on the spot. And that is rook takes f3. Because after taking back with the rook, we have bishop takes. And this is the moment in which Fischer resigned the game. Well, why would he resign here? We're a pawn up. I mean, you can make a queen, right? Well, after king takes, we have this amazing move b4. And if you take back, then you're not in time to defend this pawn. If you decide to not take and try to run your king to the a file, you'll simply take and you're too late. So after bishop takes f3, this is the moment in which Fischer resigned. I mean, this was a beautiful game in which Pachman really, I would say, played. He didn't make any mistakes, and he really outplayed Fischer here. And this end game in which he just found this idea and advanced his pawns is amazing. So Fischer is not doing very well till now. He's only in 1 out of 3. So let's see on the next video how he continues his journey. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.